Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello students, hope you are doing well. I'm Calix Tegatela, math teacher. Today, we are going to learn together unit number 6, as we did it last time, but with a new point. That unit, it's called linear and quadratic functions. But today, we are not going to go all those functions. We'll be focusing on point 6.1, linear functions. Linear function. And especially, we'll be learning how to draw a linear function on a Cartesian plane. Drawing a linear function on a Cartesian plane. Cartesian plane. So this is the point we are going to learn together. So we need to know how can I draw a linear function in the Cartesian plane. But before we proceed, I want you to remember something. We need to know a general form of a linear function. How do we write a general form of a linear function? This is what we learned last time. But as you remember, when you want to know a general form of a linear function, it's general form of a linear function. General form of a linear function, we write it as y equals to mx plus c. Do you look at this? This is what you call a general form of a linear function. And in this formula, you need to know which letter is standing for this, and you can be able to find that one. As you can see, we have y, which is equal to mx plus c. At the end of the day, you need to know what is y, what is m, what is x, and what is c. From here, if you are given y, which is equal to mx plus c, there is something you have to remember. This one, we call it dependent variable. We call it dependent variable. And this one, we call it independent variable. Independent variable. Why do we call them like that? Why is it called dependent variable? Because when you are looking for it or when you are calculating it, you need to base on the value of x. And of course, x is called independent because it's there as a value. You need to give it a value. And it will help you to find the value of x, of y. How do we call this c? This c is called the y-intercept. It is called y-intercept, but it's not our concern of today because later we will learn what is or how do we find y-intercept and how do we find x-intercept. So, as you can see over here, this is the general form of a linear function. But there is one letter that I want you to remember. What about this m? This is very important because we call it a gradient. We call it a gradient or a slope. You see? When you finish to look at the general form of a linear equation, a linear function, there is also something you have to remember. When do I say linear function and when do I say linear equation? This is what I want you to see and to know. When you have a general form like this one, we call it linear function. But whenever we have the values of m and of c, we will call it linear equation. Like from the example we have here. If you are given an example, find the gradient of the line 3x plus y, let me use this one. When you have 3x plus y equals to 2, and draw the line on the square paper. This is the question that we're going to do, and to be a good example for us, to be able to know how can I draw a linear function on my Cartesian plane. But there is also one thing that I want you to remember. What is a Cartesian plane, and how can I know it? There are two things you might have seen in the books, or maybe on the internet or somewhere else. There is a time you can see 2D, and there is a time you can see 3D. Whenever you see somewhere written 2D, this means in 2 dimensions. This is actually on a Cartesian plane. I have designed something that can help you to understand what is a Cartesian plane. A Cartesian plane is made by 2 axes. There is x-axis and the y-axis. We always do this in the class. And when you want to understand what is a 3D, it is in the 3 dimensions. Means I will have x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. And as you can see here, I can call this one as x-axis, this one, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. We actually determine them on a blackboard like this. If I draw like this, it means this is the x and the y. But here, we will draw it like this. We will draw x, y, and the z. But remember, our mathematics is for senior 3s. And we don't have to learn more about the 3Ds, because this one is actually taught in advanced classes, especially in a topic called space geometry. Our concern is to look at the 2 dimensions, or in a Cartesian plane. Our purpose was to know how to draw this equation on a Cartesian plane. When you want to draw an equation of a linear function on a Cartesian plane, you need to have a graph paper, which is actually this one. You may not get this of the size, but also there are some others we always use. I guess you know this. You can use this at home, or maybe at school we often use this. If you don't have the one of that size, this one can help you. Or even your exercise notebook. It can also help you. Now, remember, we are going to draw a linear function on a Cartesian plane. I want you to follow this and also to understand. Now, we have 3x plus y equals to 2. And as you can see, our equation here is not written in a general form. We need, first of all, to write it in the general form. Do you remember the general form of a linear function? I think you do. This is the general form of a linear function. So we need to write this equation in this form. How do I do this? Of course, I will fix my y over here, and the sign of equality has to remain here, and I have 2. Then I bring this 3 into the other side here. Remember something that we learned in senior 1. When you are solving equations, and of course, when you have like 3x here, if you want them to be in the other side here, it will change the sign. What is the sign of 3x here? It is positive. And when it changes, goes here, it will be negative 3x. And as you can see, we still have a long way to go in order to have it in this form. We are not yet at this level. Now, I have y, which is equal to 2 minus 3x. As I have been saying, it's not at this level. Now I have to put it at this form. This one, you see, I bring it over here, 3x and a plus 2. From here, I have an equation that is at the form of this one. You remember, we said this one is y, which is actually called dependent variable. And this is x, which is actually called independent variable, as I have explained it before. And you need to remember what negative 3 stands for. This negative 3, it's called slope or gradient. Of course, we have our gradient. When you go back in the question, they told us, you find the gradient. Actually, it's to find the gradient. Do you look at this? Gradient. It means we are looking for its m. This is what we are asked. Then you come here in your equation. We have solved our question. Now, if you are looking for the gradient, is of course equal to negative 3. This is the negative 3, which is a gradient. And then now, we are going to draw the line on the squared paper, which was, of course, this one, as I told you. And remember I said, if you don't have that one, you can use this one. But lucky enough, we have of this size. We are going to learn how to draw that line. Remember, when you are drawing a line, there are things that you have to have. We must have what you call the coordinates of the point. When you have the coordinates of the point, those points can help you to draw a line. Do you see this ruler that I have? It is on a straight line and can help us to understand what is a linear equation. You remember linear equation gives us a line at the end of the day. Let's consider like 3 points on this ruler. If I consider point number 1, for example, I need to look at the coordinates of this point. If I choose another point over here, I also need to look at the coordinates of this point. I can also choose another point, number 3, which can help me to determine that line. But as I told you, 2 points are enough to draw a line. It means if I have an equation like this, I'll be in need of only 2 coordinates in order to be able to draw my equation over here. So we are going to draw this line on a Cartesian plane. Here you go. How do we do this? As you can see, we may use a table. You see this table? This is a table that we always use when we are wanting to find the coordinates of the point that can help us to draw a line. But let's find them together. It will be very nice, even though it's written over here. You just have to draw a table. You put x and also y here. Why do we do this? It's because when you are looking for a coordinate of a point, every point has to have a value of x and the value of y as a coordinate. So we are going to give ourselves some numbers to be in the place of x. Let's say x is equal to 0. If x is equal to 0, I will bring this 0 in the place of x as we have it over here. What do we get? We have y, which is equal to negative 3, then times 0, and plus 2. And of course, I will get here 0. This is 0. And 0 plus 2, it is equal to 2. In case I have x which is equal to 0, y will be equal to 2. Do you see that? Because I have replaced 0 in the place of x, I got negative 3. I got negative 3. I mean, negative 3 times 0, it is 0. And then 0 plus 2, it is equal to 2. Let's say that maybe x is equal to 1. If x is equal to 1, I will put 1 over here. What do I get? I have y, which is equal to negative 3 times 1. Of course, I have to multiply them. And then plus 2. I will get here negative 3, then plus 2. And if I finish to calculate on this, I will get negative 1. So if x is equal to 1, y will be equal to negative 1. Remember, I told you 2 points are enough for me to draw a line. But it's okay if I work on the 30 points as I told you. Let me say that maybe x is equal to -1. If x is equal to -1, let's find together the value of this. If x is equal to -1, y will be equal to -3, then times -1 plus 2. Here, remember there is a concept that tells us that a negative sign times a negative sign, it gives positive. That's why if I take -3 times -3, I will get 3. Now it's 3 plus 2, and I get 5. Now, if I have x which is equal to -1, of course y will be equal to 5. 3 points are enough, or even 2. We are going to draw. Because we have finished to get the coordinates of the point, that can help us to draw a line. This is coordinate number 1 over point number 1. And these are the coordinates for the point number 2. And these are the coordinates for the third point. And remember, when you have them written in couples like this, 0 is for x, and 2 is for y. Here, this is x, this is y. This is x, this is y. So we are going now to draw a line. And I told you, this is a graph paper that can help us. Let's do it together. Now, I told you, when you're working on a Cartesian plane, you needed to have the x-axis. The x-axis. Let's start from x-axis, like this one. And we need also y-axis, which is, of course, this one. We have x-axis, and we have y-axis. Do you see them? After that, you need to put the graduations. Let's say this is 1, and 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, then 3, then 4, and 5. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5. The same thing here, -1, -2, -3, -4. After putting the points over there, we are going to draw our points. Point number 1 was 0 and 2. Let me use a different color so that you can see this pretty well. Let me use a green color. I have to locate 0 on x-axis. Where is 0? It's, of course, here. There is 0 over there. But we have the coordinates. It's 0x and 2 on y. It's here. This is coordinate. You can even name them. Maybe point A, which is equal to 0. I mean, we have the coordinates 0 and 2. And we have point 2. It's 1 and -1, which is here. This is B, 1 and -1. And we have the third point. It's -1 and 5. We have -1 over here. We have the negatives. We have -1 and 5. It's here. You go up like this. You go up like this. This is point C, which is -1 and 5. Do you see? How many points do we have? 3 points. What you do is just to join them. You use the ruler. You hold the ruler on those points in a way that they are on the same line, like this. So we get our line like this. This is our line passing through those points. This is the line of the equation we were looking for. Our equation was -3x plus 2. I hope you have seen how to draw a line on a Cartesian plane. Do you remember what you need to have? You need to have a graph paper. And I told you, if you can't get this, simple to use this one. And after having a graph paper, you need to know how to determine the coordinates of the point of a line. And you have also to know how to find them by using this table. When you finish to work on that, it becomes very easy for you. I hope you've understood this. I have prepared a homework for you. It will help you to understand better. Maybe there are somewhere you've not understood well. After writing summary, I will again give you a summary. I will just, talk again about this so that you can understand it better. I have prepared a homework for you. Here we have a homework. I have prepared for you 3 questions. This is question number 1. It says, find the gradient of the line, which is 2x plus y equal to 3. Number 2, it is determine the gradient and the y-intercept by writing the equation in the form of y equals mx plus c. I hope you remember this. This is a general form of a linear function. Now, here we have a, which is equal to 5x equals to 2y. We have number b. It is y equals to 2x plus 1. Here we have 5 equals to 5x minus 2y. And here we have d, which is equal to 2x plus 3y equals to 6. Find the gradient and the y-intercept of the line whose equation is this one. 4x minus 3y minus 9 equals to 0. Now, this is something very important. I want you to write them down. When you finish, we will do one example for you from the homework. And I think it will be pretty well for you to understand. Write the homework down. I hope you're so far. You're even ready to finish to write it, and we'll do one question together. You write the homework down. Let's do one for you before we finish our lesson. Which one do you want? Number 1? Number 2, 3, or what? Let's do number 1. They said you find the gradient of the line 2x plus y equals 3. They told us to find the gradient. Remember, when you are looking for the gradient, it's actually equals to y. You understand it. You need to first remember the general equation, the general form. The general form of a linear function is mx, then plus c. But our question here is not in a general form. It's somehow mixed up. You need to bring it at this form. How do we do this? We have now y equals to 3. I keep 3 here. And if I take this one on the other side, it changes the sign. Here it has been positive. Then here becomes negative. It is 2x. Still, I'm not yet on the form of a linear function because I need to have it y equals to mx plus c. If I continue, I will get now this one. It has to be at this place. Now we have negative 2x, then plus 3. You see? It looks like that one. Look at them pretty well. Now I have the general form, and here it's written as the general form is written. Remember, our question was find the gradient of the line, that one. That gradient is, you just read. It is equal to negative 2. You've understood? I hope so. Now, you can do other questions. After getting that, we can draw it. If we draw, we have now y, and we have x. Let's do it quickly. Okay? If we try to do it quickly, we have the table here. We have x, we have y. Let me say x is equal to 0. I put 0 here, and I remain with the 3. Let me say x is equal to 1. If I put 1 here, it will be negative 2 times 1, negative 2. And if I subtract, I will get 1. Because it will be to 3 minus 2, and I get 1. Remember, I told you 2 points are enough for you to draw a line. And if I have 2 points, here I have 1, I have 2, and I have 3. This is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. This is 1, 2, and 3. As you have the coordinates of the points, of course, here you have 0, 3, and here you have 1, 1. I bring them here. I have 0 and 3. This is point number 1. And I have 1 and 1. It's here. Now I have found 2 points. It will be very easy. You just press a ruler here, and you draw your line. Let me use a different color. This is the line. This is the line that is given by equation y equals to negative 2x plus 3. Students, I hope you've understood this very well. Have you finished writing the homework? Have your time and you write them down. We will finish the question number 1. We have already finished it because I've done it for you. And you also work on the rest. Here we have question A, B, we have C and D. It's to find y-intercept by writing the equation in this form. And if you want to know that y-intercept, as I told you when we were starting, I told you this x is y-intercept. If we were doing this question number 2, the y-intercept should be this one. You have to remember this. Write down your homework before we finish our lesson. Hope you have finished. There is a reference here down. If you need more exercises regarding this point we've been discussing, you can find more exercises in mathematics book for Rwandan schools, senior 3, on page 89 up to page 90. You can get more exercises there. I thank you very much. I really appreciate that you've been following me. I hope to see you then. Bye.